Good morning, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. I'm up a lot earlier than normal for milking. We're getting a lot of rain today and I'd just like to get all my chores and things done so I can just be inside when it gets bad. But also I did teat tape a couple of my goats yesterday. I know that the teat tape came off of one of them, but I don't necessarily know how tight Shindy's udder might get with the tape on because I don't really know how much milk Red is getting, and I don't want her to be super tight for super long. I have my hand milking pails today because our power keeps flickering. We don't have a very secure power system. I am also going to be drying off a couple of my standards, at least weaning myself off of them, and so I don't think I need as much elbow power as I normally do. Good morning, big stretch. I know it's early. So here's Shindy. She has her teats taped. I did tape Tori's teats as well, but her daughter, Lil Miss, tore the tape off. I don't know how quickly, but by the time I checked him in the evening, the tape was off. Look how big Lil Miss is. Oh well, I'll try again. How you doing? Are you still taped up? At least that side is. All right, I'll get ready. Hi, darling. Shindy. Oh, she looks good, girl. Your giant baby can't figure it out, at least not yet. One of my retired does. She's actually the only retired doe that I have right now, but I'm milking her still because I know that this is my last chance to really milk her. She's holding her condition pretty well. Her granddaughter is nursing off of her, and I know we can get more milk out of Christine than we've been getting if she wasn't nursing her granddaughter, so I'm gonna try taping her as well. Now Frenzy still has access to her mama full time. She definitely doesn't need two mamas. So we'll see if this works. So this is medical tape that I have here, and I've just taken about an inch strip off of it and taped it around the teat like a U, and then I'm going to take a second piece, this is probably too long, and put it around this way to help hold it. This isn't tight or anything. Like that. I'll do that to both sides and see how Frenzy deals with that. This is one of my high production does named Clover, and I recently did a video on body condition scoring. Clover is a little bit thin. Technically she's okay as far as her body condition scoring, but really I like her to be better than she is, her score to be better than it is. She does look thin to me, and when it comes to breeding goats, I don't really want to breed them to death, essentially. But I also do want to be able to utilize the goats on my farm for what their purpose is. We use them here for their milk, obviously, but also for their meat. And so one of the things that we kind of require here for our goats is them to keep up their body condition pretty well, and off of our land would be the best. Sometimes high production dairy goats really need a lot of outside inputs to thrive. And so what I'm going to be doing today is not milking out Clover all of the way. I'm actually just going to milk her out partway because I need to dry her off so that the calories that she eats can go to her body versus her milk. Gracious. She's not easy to milk. Clover has a beautiful udder, but she is lacking in the teat department. They're small and they're not ideally placed, and so the milk kind of goes everywhere. when I go to hand milk her. And that's another thing that I really want out of my herd, is I want to have a bunch of goats that are easy to hand milk, and Clover kind of doesn't fit that bill. So I've been thinking about this for some months and not really talking about it, but I think we are going to be removing Clover from our herd this year. Clover was actually given to me by one of my goat mentors, and she has offered to take both Clover and Elsa back should I need, and I'm considering letting go of both of them. And it's not because they're bad goats, it's because they're goats that I feel aren't the most ideal for our situation. They're beautiful show goats that have a high production. They're very well-bred animals, but I think they're not necessarily the best fit for me and my management style. I like to milk once a day so that I have time to do other things. These goats kind of require a little bit more hands-on care and a little bit more outside assistance off of the farm assistance to keep up their condition. So they're best suited in a home that has a little bit more time and a little bit more willingness and resources to put towards them. So it's a hard decision, but I think it's the right one to let them go. So it'll be some time. They'll be here for a little while, but I think they are going to be moving on, and we won't be breeding them this season. Elsa! Elsa here is potentially leaving for a very similar reason. She's a great goat. She puts a lot of herself into her milk. But also I have done a milk test on Elsa, and while she gives a lot of milk, it's not the highest casein content. And casein is a milk protein, and it is the one that's responsible for higher cheese yields. And it's actually the protein that you can be allergic to if you're allergic to milk. So she'd be a good fit for someone that does have a sensitivity to dairy, but we like to make cheese here. So I know that her daughter Melee is an improvement in the casein department because Melee's dam is Blue Cactus nefarious. He has two very high casein producing genes, so he's inevitably passed one on to her. And so I'm opting to keep Melee in place of Elsa for herd improvement. She's going to be easier to keep and have a little bit better milk quality as far as my needs go. So I'm not taking as much as I would out of Elsa. She does still have Melee on her, but I think this is going to help trigger her systems to drying up safely. I don't want to just cut her off cold turkey because she is such a high production doe. Even though she has one daughter on her, I think I need to be trying to dry her up slowly. Tizzy here is one of my homebred mini La Manchas, and she is a lot of what I'm looking for in my herd. A higher production animal with a little bit less of an input need, and nice long hand milkable teats, nice soft udder. I haven't taken a casein test out of her, but I would like to do more of those this year. So Tizzy is going to stay in the milking rotation, so I'm going to milk her out all the way. Why are you standing weird? She's not used to this milking stand. Alright, so this is my first time seeing Shindy with a good amount of fill since she kidded. It's a little bit hard to see. Let me turn my light on. There we go. Well, isn't that a beautiful thing? Nice, high, wide arch with good attachment. Oh, Shindy, you look beautiful. She's tight, but she's not super hard or anything, so it's a good time to milk her out. This is why she has the hobbles. Now her teat length isn't as great as her sister's, but that's something we can work on though. You saw Elsa's teats were nice and long. I do have a son out of Elsa that we can put over does like Shindy to help try to get that teat length improvement. So yeah, even though those big girls may be leaving, I'm 80% sure they will be. I do have some kids that we've kept back from them, that they can still have some influence on our herd, some good influence. Sometimes I like to switch up the direction that I'm milking. I feel like it helps me completely empty the udder to get at it from a different angle. She's so not used to this, but she's doing good. Now all this is just new for Shindy, and that's why she's protesting so hard. She will get over this. The important thing in these kinds of situations where does are protesting what's going on is to not let them win. Because if they feel like they can win, they will try to win every single time. So just being calm but persistent with my intentions is the goal. What does that dog guy, what does he say? Calm and assertive, Caesar Milan, just like that. There we go. Now Tori's baby tore off the teat tape, but I still want to go through the motions with her. I haven't done a lot of milking with Tori this year. I did some in the beginning because she really needed it, having only one kid. But I've just let her raise her doling pretty much for the season. Cute little Tori likes to raise her hoof out of kindness. She wants me to get easy access. She's a cute little angel. We're not gonna get much, it's okay. There we go. And I'm gonna tape her up and see if Lil Miss leaves them on this time. I kind of doubt it. Good morning. I actually woke up relatively early to get pictures of Shindy. She looks really good. I am going to be putting her and Tizzy at least in the MDGA virtual show, which is this month. I'm a little bit late getting my entries in, but that's okay. Better late than never. And I honestly, looking at them, I can't tell who I think is gonna do better, but this is good information for me. They're sisters out of the same kidding, and so the genetics don't always match up perfectly from each parent, so you don't always get like a carbon copy of each. So I'm interested to see what the judges say, because eventually I will only keep one of them. So I know somebody hasn't fed out grain today. I'll get on it in just a second. I need to catch Levi while he's working. Sometimes people will say, oh, I wish you would show more of the build. And a lot of times I can't, because Levi will be doing something while I'm doing something. Like just now, I was milking and he was getting stuff done on the buck barn, and this is really how we function. This is how we get so much done. It's a divide and conquer situation. Oh, that shade's gonna be nice later.
Do what?
The shade is gonna be nice later once it gets real hot.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have the roof on right now. This is like a condensation barrier. One of the issues that I have with the green part of this barn, which is where my girl goats are at, is that really no matter the time of year, it's so humid here that condensation collects on the roof and it drips down on the goats. Not a good thing. This barrier prevents that. Is this the same color, or is it a little lighter?
It is lighter.
That's what I thought. Well, it's watering day again in the greenhouse, and I think I've established with myself that I'll harvest the onions on days where I need to water before I water, because I only have 4 more beds of onions left. Only 4. These are the beds where I planted 3 onions in a cluster like this, and these onions are actually pretty good size considering how close together they were planted. See what I mean? Not bad. These onions right here are the intermediate day candy onions, and I just ordered a whole bunch of seeds for this type of onion because these have been my favorite to grow. I like the size that they get. This is what it looks like when you plant a bag of carrots and then don't thin them out. You get a harvest, but it's not really the harvest that you hope for. There are some bigger carrots in here like that, and I am going to utilize these in a coleslaw recipe that we're going to make today. But this is the majority of what I got, these little baby carrots. This is simply because this was too many carrots for the space, but thankfully I get a redo in this situation. I have a bunch of rabbits on my farm that would love to eat this treat, turn it into poop, and then we can add those nutrients to the garden later and they can turn into something else. It's one of the things that I absolutely love about homesteading is that it's very forgiving and very frequently you get second chances. This is a 15-gallon grow bag, and you know what? For the size of the space, that's not a horrible harvest. And considering how hands-off carrots can really be, it's really not bad for the effort or the lack of effort. Okay, so those 2 cabbages that we just harvested. This time of year, I'm really not trying to cook or saute a lot of cabbage. I love cabbage that is sauteed just with salt and pepper and some caramelized onions. So good. But this time of year, I prefer to have something cooler, and very frequently I will reach for a canned coleslaw that I've made before. This is a Rebel canning thing that I have done for several years. The first time I saw it was on the channel Our Silver Moments, and then the second time I saw it was from Ruth Ann Zimmerman. And so this is kind of a little bit of a combo of both of those recipes. I don't have any peppers, and peppers is something that is called for in both recipes. Instead, I am putting in dill because that's a lovely flavor. So I've got my cabbage all chopped up and salted, and then these carrots are actually kind of thin to try to grate. So I'm going to pull out my food processor for those, and I'm also going to be putting our onions in the food processor as well. Those onions were making me cry so hard. Oh my goodness. I have seen where people buy these goggles to process their onions with, and I might have to get some. The thing is, I need some that are gonna fit over my glasses. So if you have suggestions for something like that, or a way to cut onions with minimal tears, I would love to hear them. So in this pot, I'm going to be making the brine that we're going to can the coleslaw with. And we're gonna need 3.5 cups of vinegar, 2 cups of water, 3.5 cups of sugar, a tablespoon of mustard seed, and a tablespoon of celery seed. I'm actually out of celery seed, but that will be okay. I'll get some more, and then if we feel like our coleslaw needs that celery flavor at the time of eating, we can just sprinkle it in. No big deal. So what I'm doing now is just bringing this up to a boil. I'm gonna boil this for a minute and then let it cool a little while. And by then, the salt that I put in my shredded cabbage should have helped release some of the liquid out of the cabbage, and we'll be able to assemble and can it up. Alrighty, so it's been a little bit, and I don't know if you saw the height of the cabbage when I first put it in, but this cabbage was probably, a little bit below the rim, and it sunk down quite a lot. Same thing with what I've got over here, and that is because the cabbage is actually releasing quite a bit of liquid, and we're gonna strain that liquid off. Okay, I've got this nice big colander, and I just put it over the sink. Strained all the cabbage through. This bowl still might not be big enough. I'll still have to use both to mix it up. That's okay. Here's our carrot onion mixture. And the dill. Now I'm about to break another canning rule as far as the United States canning rules go. We are going to reuse some pickle jars. Now, I just bought pickles in these. We bought a ton of these pickles this past winter, and I liked the jars. They've got a nice wide mouth, and they have this lovely lid with a button top. I want you guys to not necessarily copy everything you see someone do on the internet. You want to do your own research and make your own decisions and what you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with this for things that I'm going to essentially pickle. These are just going to be steam canned, or you could water bath can them. Essentially, if I have a jar break, I won't eat it. And if I have a jar seal fail, I won't eat it. To me, there's really not a risk except for the risk of potentially losing a jar of food. And that's worth the risk to me. I've got my warm pickling liquid here. Just pour it over. One of the recipes I saw said to let the pickling liquid cool down all the way. The other one said for it to be warm. And I think because I'm canning this, it's probably a good idea if it was warm so that I don't risk cracking a jar in the canning process. Take my debubbler and just take out the excess air bubbles. This is going to help everything settle so that I know I've got enough brine in the jar. And if I happen to notice that the jar does need more liquid, I ran out of the pickling liquid, but that's fine. I'm just going to top it off with vinegar in that case. So far, so good. When it comes to serving this, what I like to do is actually strain out the pickling liquid over the sink, and then I'll add in the dressing of our choice, which most often is like an aioli type with mayonnaise and mustard. Super yummy. And this makes for a really, really fast summer side from the farm. Another favorite thing for me to do with this, but also things like relish, is to make rabbit salad, which is basically just chicken salad, except for you use rabbit meat and then the mayonnaise and things as you would. But then you add in either the relish or this coleslaw for a really nice acidic punch. Helps bring everything together and really make like a boring chicken salad into something really special and more nutritious. Also, real quick too, before I forget, if you are interested in a Sage and Stone 22-ounce USA made lead-free mug, I have these on the website now. I'll put the link down below. Whoa, it's dark in here. Well, good morning. It is the next day and all 8 of our jars did seal well. So I'm just going to stick them on the shelf again. If a seal happens to pop, I just won't eat it. And that's true no matter what canning jars you're canning in. But I'm trying to beat the rain today with another garden project. I haven't gotten to freeing up my walkway of all the extra tomatoes. So we're going to enter the garden from the side. Oh, look! And there's even a native bee in there. So alternate entrance to the garden. This is not the project for the day, but I can't just walk by this. Not when we're going to be getting tons of rain. This is blight on the tomatoes, and I like to take care of it when I see it, just to help stave it off for long enough so we can get a harvest. I really needed this to be a good tomato year this year. I don't know if it's going to be. My heat masters are doing really well, and really the slicers are doing really well so far, knock on wood, but we've got blight started over here and it could easily spread because we're getting a ton of rain with more rain coming. And it seems like rain would be good for the garden, and it is, as far as the water. Like, plants need water as well as there's soluble nitrogen in the rain that the plants really can benefit from. But problem is, a lot of moisture on the leaves really just provides like a highway for these diseases and things to spread. And I don't know, I hope the tomatoes can hold out for me. What I'd like to do is collect some of these flowering dill heads from the garden. I literally just 2 hours ago posted the garden tour that posted the Tuesday before this video, and someone had an amazing suggestion for me to snip off the flowering dill heads and put them in the freezer until I get some cucumbers on that I can pickle. I was going to just pre-make my pickle brine, which requires flowering dill heads, and then store it in the fridge, or even just can the brine all by itself. But I like this idea better. It's faster. So thank you so much for that suggestion. what I'm trying to focus on are, that was the military training. If you ever hear a weird boom that sounds like artillery, it's probably what it is. But anyways, I'm trying to get the flowering dill heads that have a lot of yellow pollen on them. That's where the dilly flavor is, at least when it comes to that part of the dill plant. If you've ever had dill before, you know there's a ton of flavor in the little fronds too. But admittedly, at this time when the plants really focus their energy on the seeds and on the heads, a lot of the flavor does end up going into those heads. So here's the dill head harvest for today, but super exciting development out of this volunteer squash. I see babies, and that there looks like a pumpkin to me. I wasn't sure if this volunteer squash was a tromboncino or a Dutch fork pie pumpkin. Looks like a Dutch fork pie pumpkin, which is awesome. Now I need to do some cleaning up of this space, really of the entire homestead. With all the rain that we've gotten, the grass and the weeds and things have just gone berserk. But I'd really love to give that squash some light and some space, because I didn't plant any pumpkins this year. I did that on purpose because I felt like I didn't really have the space, and I really don't, but we're gonna let that one go. So the onions that I processed today actually came out of one of the beds in the greenhouse. So at this point there are 2 beds left to harvest, and I'm actually getting pretty excited for those onions to be totally out so that I can amend in there and replant. Some of the beds I may not end up replanting, but we'll tackle that when it comes to that. But for right now, we are in preservation mode. And also, some of you might remember from when I planted the onions, and I've talked about this a lot in like the garden tours and things, that I had planted some of the onion beds with the onions about 4 to 6 inches apart, single plants 4 to 6 inches apart, and then some of the beds were planted in groups of 3, 6 inches apart. And in theory, you would get more quantity or more volume of onion, more weight of onion in the bed that had more onions planted close together, although each onion would be smaller. And I think I might have messed up the experiment with this, being that it's taking me a couple weeks to harvest the onions. It also took me a couple weeks to plant them. And the beds that I harvested first that were planted further apart, those had more opportunity to grow more leaves before the days got long enough for the onions to bulb up. So by the time I got the other onions in, the first set of onions had about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks lead time on growth. And with onions, the more leaves you get, the more bulb size you get. And so I don't really think that for me this year that experiment really worked, but not to say that in perfect conditions that wouldn't be the case. I will say when it comes to preserving the onions, it is definitely annoying to peel and cut more onions versus fewer onions that are bigger. Anyway, it took me many hours to cut and deal with the onions from today, but we've got the entire roaster full. These have actually sunk down a little bit. They were, I mean, just to the tippy top in here. I believe this is a 22 quart roaster, and it's just all onions with the 4 sticks of butter. And these are going to be caramelizing down overnight. Right now I have them set at 250. I may turn it down to like 225 overnight. And what I'm doing over here is these are all the like onion butts and onion skins. Because I harvested these from the garden today, there really weren't papery skins on the onions at all. They actually did have a little bit of meaty substance to them, but I'm just cooking them down a little bit. And then I think we're actually gonna move these over to my big cheese pot because I plan on simmering these with some water to make like an onion stock. Now the greens of the onions on this particular batch were they were dying and wilted and not worth saving. I have preserved plenty of green onions though, so I did not need any more. Those just went in the compost. There you go. I'm just gonna bring this up to the boil and then turn it down to a simmer and then simmer it overnight. Good morning. Now I'm not going to call this onion stock a complete failure, but it's something that I'm not interested in eating because it tastes like bath water. If I did something wrong, please let me know. I know I've seen Fermented Homestead make an onion stock and she used like more whole onions in the onion stock, but this is not good. This is something that I'm not going to keep. These, however, are looking very lovely. You can see that we've gained a lot of browning overnight. There is quite a bit of liquid, and that is the reason I have the top off of my roaster right now, just to help boil some of that down. But this still needs quite a bit of cook time before I declare them done. Things are going well, though. It smells amazing in here. See how big Shake and Bake are getting compared to Chloe? Y'all are growing so fast. I'm so pleased. Yeah. I realized over the course of editing this week that I never actually showed you the essentially finished product of the barn. There's just a couple little minor tweaks that Levi wants to make before he declares it finished. But here we have it, the buck barn. I believe it's 12 feet wide and 10 feet long, possibly. 10 feet tall for sure on this side and then 8 feet tall on the back side with the slope. They've got a window. We have had a lot of rain, so it's incredibly muddy in here right now. But this is what the inside looks like. They've got their loafing platform here, hay storage up here, and then I have quite a few more of these hay feeders that are gonna line up right there. And as far as the floor is concerned in here, we're gonna need to lay down some pine pellets. Levi's gonna be getting those sometime this week, and then those are really awesome at soaking up moisture, fluffing up, building up the floor in here like I talked about we really needed to do. This is why. This mud is why. It'll be like this in winter if we don't build up something on the floor in here. This is wonderful. I'm so excited to move the boy goats in. Now, as far as the little tweaks that Levi wants to make in here, he would like there to be no exposed wood to the outside. So he's gonna get some metal to put around these corners here, like so. This is a little bit sharp as well, but that's gonna help the barn last a lot longer if it's not exposed to a lot of moisture. These are treated beams, but still. But yeah, that's essentially ready for the boys to move in. I was hoping that this would be done by July, because that's the time that I'm ready to break up my breeding groups and put all my bucks back together. And this is the house they'll live in. We do still have a couple small pallet shelters in the buck area, and I will probably leave these up just as like an alternate spot for goats to take shelter. It's definitely starting to fall apart, so I'm sure that this will be the preference of all of them. And so there it is. And as far as material costs, we do get questions on that kind of thing quite often. This was actually $1,800, which is quite a lot. This addition to our barn, that is a bone white color, this is 14 feet by 20 something. Can't remember. And now it does have the barn as one of the walls that way, but this was $3,000 and this is a lot bigger. Now with this, we did have free telephone poles for the corners, so I'm sure that that helped with the cost. And again, this wall was already here. Good morning, girls. How are you? For some reason, basically the whole herd has been hanging out back here. You guys have so much room to spread out, but they like to cram together. I was ready for you that time. Drying off the girls is going well, and it is official that Clover and Elsa are leaving the farm, and they're actually doing so sooner than I expected. My mentor, who is taking them back, she's the one who gave them to me originally, she was able to secure transport for the end of the month. So it's moving fast, but it's bittersweet. I'm actually relieved because I know that this is the right call for them. We're going to miss them, but they're going to be better off. So I haven't milked Clover in, goodness, quite a few days at this point. And she is still big looking, but her udder definitely has some give. It's not hot. And Elsa is doing well too. So yeah, the only standards that we're gonna have on the farm are going to be Christine, who's over there. She's retired. I'm not breeding her anymore. And then Elpis over here, who is Christine's daughter. We will breed Elpis, although I don't like milking her. She does have a lot of really nice qualities that I like seeing on her daughters, who have been an improvement on her udder. So that is good. She's got good baseline. We're gonna be focusing more on our minis. Did your baby leave your tape on last night? Ooh, maybe. Yep, she sure did. You look good, Tori. So yeah, with Christine and Tori, Tizzy and Shindy, we're getting about a gallon a day, a little bit more. And that's great. This time of year, when my focus really turns to the garden as far as maintenance and food preservation, a gallon a day is nice. It means that I make cheese less often, but I still can absolutely make lots of cheese. I can make butter, which I really need to do this coming week. And of course, drink it fresh and all the other things. The very bare minimum that we need is a half gallon a day. So obviously a gallon a day is more than that. And that's good, especially for this time of year. So yeah, I'm sorry to leave you hanging as far as the onion preservation goes. The plan with those is to freeze dry some of the caramelized onions, and I think I'd like to try canning some of them. So yes, the video has to end, but life on the homestead keeps moving on. I'll see you guys again soon. You wanna smile for the camera?
Nope.
People like to see you in thumbnails.
It's weird.